marketing, entrepreneurship, and all things small business. You're listening to the Jurassic Marketing's Triceratops. Now, here's your host, Justin Miller.
All right. Welcome to the podcast. We have a special guest today. So Kevin is gone. This is not Kevin anymore if you're watching the video version. I have a good friend, Tom Terronez. He's CEO of Medix Dental. I invited him in. I thought we're just going to share some entrepreneurial stories. You know, we have a couple things we want to talk about, but rather than me rambling for 25 minutes, which is usually what this devolves into, this is great. So thanks for agreeing to pop into our makeshift studio. Appreciate it.
Happy to be here. I feel like I was brought on false pretenses. Originally it was lunch, and then we're like, "Hey, you're going to be on video."
I mean, you said, yeah, I did say podcast. I didn't say video until you agreed.
True.
That's I mean, they're probably listening to audio, not video anyway. So if you're on audio, you miss it. I'm sorry, but yeah, I mean, bribe people with food. You know,
it's good food. So
I think it was a college professor, I think, that said, if you feed them, they will come. And I you know, that ever since
it works. Yeah. I feel like I need to do more than one.
Yeah. So we can do dinner too. It'll be in episode 65 through 78 is Tom.
Oh, people get bored of me by then.
All right. So let's dig in and start. Let's start with present day. So tell the listeners a little about Medix Dental, who you serve, what you do, and a little bit on scale of company so they can put things in context.
Sure. So Medix Dental IT, it's our formal name. And so we provide IT services and advisory services for dental practices, dental specialty practices, all the way up through emerging and kind of middle market DSOs, dental service organizations. And our team is national. We're headquartered in Davenport, Iowa. But as you know, the pandemic kind of accelerated our growth nationally, and we just realized we wanted the best people. And so that's where we've just kind of stopped limiting ourselves. So our team's about 60 employees, 60-ish. We might be a little more. We've brought on a few people. We're growing quite a bit. It's started at one just about 20 years ago. Now I think it's 22 years ago.
20-year overnight success. Isn't that funny how that works?
Yeah, last since 2019, the pace has definitely been different, and it's accelerating again. So
yeah, I've heard that across a lot of industries, though. Kind of right around that pandemic time, things went one way or the other. So for the layman, like everyone that's in your target just kind of heard and understood everything you said.
Yeah.
The rest of us are like, all right, what are the pain points you're solving for dental practices and similar practices? Like, why would they call you? Why would you be on the radar?
Well, if you're a patient, you walk into a dental practice and you see TVs, you see computers, you see cameras, x-rays. And so basically we provide the support and infrastructure for all of those tool sets. So we proactively manage them for HIPAA compliance. We do all the cybersecurity. And then basically on the advisory side, we're helping these, single location to 5 locations they're trying to grow, or like a 20 location that's trying to go to 50. And there's a lot of certain things that are like IT related that, just are more of a transition that are just not as simple as managing and supporting the practices themselves. It's helping to kind of turn them into an enterprise.
Yeah, so business office managers are not actually an IT expert in most cases.
Some are pretty good, but yeah, they wear so many hats that, we kind of take one of those hats away from them and support them. Yeah,
I think all the entrepreneurs and business owners can appreciate that. We're all wearing a lot of hats. Mm-hmm. So 20-year evolution. Can you kind of take me back through a couple of maybe inflection points or things that changed that really started causing growth? Because it's a long journey from concept to 60 plus employees. Are there a couple of points in time that really stick out to you that, maybe there was an external factor, or, maybe just hit something internally and realize something you could do better? What were some of those points for you?
Well, can I start with like how this whole thing began? 'Cause it's kind of funny and random.
Yeah.
I've been an IT computer guy, kind of helping my friends' parents, my parents' friends, that kind of thing. And one of my good friends, Megan, we were friends in high school and after, her mom was a 2-location periodontal practice office manager, and she and I carried a common love for Hall & Oates. So that's why Sharon and I had a bond. And so she had me come take a look at a quote for equipment for that they were getting for their new software vendor. They're actually going from Mac to PC. And we were able to save the office, between the two offices, $25,000. Got them better equipment, and we realized, hey, there was an opportunity there. And so that kind of got us going. We realized there's a business idea there. We were kind of straddling, trying to do a little bit in healthcare, and realized that was a different animal, and decision makers weren't on premise. It was just a whole different world. And so we realized that there's a significant need in dental. And we did the slow growth probably for the first eight years, did the local to regional, then national really kind of hit like the last 8 years. I think we're talking about inflection points is, pre-pandemic, we started seeing some of our clients acquire practices out of our general service area, and they still wanted us to be able to support them and solve their problems and do all the things we normally do, which for the most part was relatively easy doing remote support and remote management, but it's, we still had to get hands on site. So that was kind of the first point where like, okay, how we have to start figuring out ways for our team to travel by air.
Yeah.
And,
build boots on the ground physical infrastructure.
Right. And, since then, now we have people quite, a lot of major markets, but there's still a lot of in-between markets that we have to have solutions for. And we just have to get really creative sometimes. But, we do have to use contractors once in a while to like do some of the stuff where we just can't get somebody there fast enough, or we just need somebody to do something relatively simple that we just don't want to trouble the practice with. But there's just, it's kind of hard thinking back, like some of the major inflection points. It's like, I don't, when you're so deep into like the whole thing, you're not kind of even like taking stock of like what you've accomplished, or, you're just putting out fires and trying to figure out the challenges. And, I think when I hit some of my early limits, multiple times throughout the journey where I tried to do too much, tried to make too many decisions, and I become the bottleneck. And, I would say, I wouldn't have been able to do any of this journey without, the two key people. They're actually brothers, Chris and Eric Jess, our chief operating officer and chief development officer. And I'd say Chris was the one that was kind of good at telling me when I was like, you're overwhelmed, you need to hand this off. And he's still good at that because I still slip back into some old bad habits. But, it's having two people like that on the journey with you that you could rely on 110% really, we wouldn't be where we are without those two.
Now, at what point did they come into your world, these two?
Yeah, so I'm going to probably mess this up. I know Eric is 16 years now, and I think Chris beat him by 2 years.
So pretty early on.
Yeah, and the funny part was I think we were only a 3-person team when Chris joined, and he joined us in entry-level tech. But then in talking to him, I realized like this is the first moment, and it's going to make me sound like I have an ego, but this is the first moment where I realized that somebody was better than me technically. And it was humbling, but also exciting. And so he's evolved his skill set to not just solving the technical problems, but solving the people or business problems. And he realized like that's his sweet spot, is just solving problems.
And I'm hoping that was heard because I had that journey pretty early on, and it was mainly because I didn't want to be the expert in these areas, but it rears its head with a lot of people I talk to and a lot of different businesses where the business owner is like, no one can do X as good as I can. Like, well, that's a problem to scaling your company.
Absolutely.
Can they do it 90% as good of you? 80%? There's some middle ground. So if that was an unintentional inflection point, I'm sure it served you well. And, even just having lunch with you mentioned team members a lot. It's clear that you love on your team members and give them a lot of credit.
Yeah, they deserve it. And kind of some other inflection points. It's like even in this last year, we got somebody to lead our service desks who's a tremendous person, but also just a tremendous leader, and not in a way that's like a dictator. It's like a balance of love for his team members, but also love for the company, and taking the actions that are sometimes tough. And, that was the thing we were kind of talking about recently. It's like when you find people that are really strong in their roles and own them or have ownership of a team, all of a sudden you don't have to worry about what goes on there. I mean, there's never going to be perfection, but those are the kind of things that I think like it's really important to know. It's like you don't just want to put a body in a role. You want to find that person that's really going to be, they're going to flourish in that role, but everybody under them will flourish in that role. And we're very, very blessed to have so many wonderful team members. I couldn't even mention all of the rock stars we have. And, there's another Tom on our team who we were lucky enough to get from a competitor, and he just doesn't cease to amaze me. It's just, I'm very, very lucky.
At this point, are you actively involved in recruiting and hiring process still, or no?
Not as much. I mean, little bits. I'll people contact me and say, hey, we know this person, and then I pass it off to Abby, who leads up our people operations, and she's fantastic at vetting them. I still, certain roles I like to meet the people, but it's just not at the pace we're going now. It's been hard to dedicate time to do that. So
okay, so you have a great person at getting persons as well.
Yep. Again,
yeah. Good inflection point as well.
Yeah,
I don't have one of those. I'm person. If you apply here, you're gonna hear from me at some point.
Yeah, and that's definitely not one of my skills. I see the best in people and overlook some of the other things, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. That's how I'm wired, but it doesn't make me the right person to find the right people.
Gotcha. What else stands out? So we have a lot of listeners that listen to the show because I talk about marketing a lot and sales a little bit. So what have been some of the things in those arenas along the way that have helped you? I know we talked about events a little earlier.
Yeah, I think for us in the dental market, depending on whether we're looking regionally or nationally, but it's being present at the events. In a lot of cases, we have booths or do sponsorships, but in other cases, just talking to other people in the industry and building industry relationships. But what we found is that you can't just do one or two of the same event. You have to establish a longer term presence before people start actually like going to you as the source and realizing that you're not just hopping into the market. And that's the one thing in dental, whether it's IT or marketing or some of the other services, people kind of like dip their toe in and then they stick it out really quick. They're like, oh, this I don't like this water temp.
Yeah.
But when you stick with it a long time, one, you get to know it really well, but then you also become the go-to source.
Yeah, and that's kind of funny because we preach the same thing to our clients with using direct mail as a media, is that if you're just going to do it once, don't bother.
Yep.
But then when we're evaluating opportunities and going to events and like the first year is not what we expected, we also haven't budgeted for that investment to go 2-3 years or events if the cycle's faster than a year. So always interesting when you flip the words around and it comes back at you.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, it's you can't do anything just once and expect it to solve everything and be magical. You have to kind of stick it out for a while, and direct marketing the same way.
Yeah, so it sounds like intentional relational marketing is, at the end of the day, what has been a key driver for you.
Absolutely.
Anything that you've tried that was a massive, not so great?
Yeah.
This is for the entrepreneurs listening.
Yeah, there's been a lot of stuff. Going door to door in dental practices is a quick way to get kicked out of an office and never want to, and I say that with exception, but like in the early days, we tried that. We started going door, showing up, and we got a quick understanding that the people working in the office are so busy, they don't have time to have somebody just like hop in and say, hey, I'm such and such. And then we realized a lot of people do that. And then that they kind of build up that wall there. And so they just don't respond well to it unless you have something like incredible offer or something that can change their life, which I can't say we've sorted that one out yet either.
I was going to say, did you figure out how to pitch that and spin it?
Yeah. I mean, it's about developing trust, and sometimes you have to give something to get the opportunity to develop that. But door to door generally in dental doesn't work.
Okay, we're not knocking doors.
Nope. I mean, cold calling, phone calls, same way. Digital seems okay. It's not great. The quality of leads can be quite variable. I do feel like direct mail, even though we've not stuck our toe back into that recently, I feel like that when we were doing that with the regular cadence, it did work.
Well, I wasn't trying to soft pitch a layup for me.
No, but yeah, we didn't talk about that earlier, but it's been quite a few years since we've done that. And because we're also working on a national level too, and working for these groups, it's a little bit tougher. But for the individual dental practices, I think it's definitely a practical way to get to them.
Yeah, so I'm guessing every media you tried, you had some sort of limited success, but at the end of the day, there's limited resources on it too. Or you seem to be leading people first in most fronts, so burning them out with non-producing activity might be a little difficult.
Yeah, don't do that. But digital is interesting too because some of the people that we've worked with, to kind of guide us on that, they're like, you're getting more traffic for your name in the searches than you are for some of these key terms that, and the volume of these key term searches, even if we threw more money at it, it's not that high. And so, some of our peers are doing that and spending more than we are, but I'm always a big fan of doing like smart money, not the most money. So we've kind of figured a sweet spot with that too. And it's provided some ROI. And
yeah, so if you're getting direct search on name, are you guys on stage? Are you teaching? Are you doing webinars? Like how, or is this just built up demand from being seen all over the place?
I think honestly, the industry's changed. We've seen consolidation in our space. So like we're probably one of the top 5 in the nation as far as dental focused IT in size. And we're not big by any means compared to businesses. In other industries, but yeah, we're probably the top 5. And so we've watched the number one as far as size in our industry, definitely not in quality. They've just continued to acquire other companies and do it without really solving their original problems. So they're just bolting on all this revenue. And so they don't make that much money at the end of the day. And it's pretty interesting to see that happening. So it's definitely don't do what they do, what they did, because it's not working.
Call us. We're not them.
Yeah. If you want quality, call us.
All right, let's switch gears a little bit here. You and I were chatting AI. As seems to be the conversation everywhere. You can't get away from it. So, we can't beat it. We join them. So let's frame this as tools you're currently using first, like top 2 or 3 you've explored and have actively found a value case for in your business.
Well, I'll start with like what we've done that's kind of been unique. One of our team members who this is not his job, but he's kind of an incredible person about a bunch of technology. So he does a lot of like hobby stuff on the side, which we are able to take advantage of. And so we've struggled. We've assembled so much documentation and processes and things, because we solve the same problems for years. And we've had it, but our interface to those documentation and the searchability is just not very good, or the phrasing of terms doesn't quite align with what you would search for it. And so we basically fed that into the API of OpenAI, and it's created a mechanism for us to like ask questions in English and get actual good results. So it's basically leveraging our knowledge base in a way that is easier and faster to access. And sometimes it provides an alternative that our documentation doesn't even necessarily specify. So that's one thing where we've just started kind of working through. Prior to that, we used a third-party tool that was supposedly going to do the same. It cost a lot. It didn't involve any, and it didn't really work that well.
It probably did the same. It probably fed it into the OpenAI.
For whatever reason, it just didn't provide as solid of an experience as what I see with this.
So these are technical answers, like actual help desk type stuff, or because I have one we built with like just our HR stuff. So we put our handbook up there and all that stuff, and you can ask questions for compliance and how's this work and that work. But this sounds more on a front of assisting service delivery even. Yeah,
exactly. So it's for our help desk and engineers to be able to access. And, we're looking at potentially expanding some things to build out a client-facing one as well. But yeah, we could definitely see that as a possibility for leveraging our HR and internal training and things like that. I think would be nice as well. I mean, the technology is there. It's very easy to deploy. It's just a matter of like assembling it or making sure that the content is quality and it's accurate, because otherwise they'll be feeding wrong answers and you'll be getting in trouble by telling your employees to check that out. But
it'll be like the videos where the Wendy's drive-through AI, they start asking it math questions and stuff. They're making it type out a paragraph.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's really interesting. And I guess I'm looking at it from the customer side. And you didn't say whether or not it was customer facing, but I have experienced one that is. So one of the ones I ran into was employment testing tools. There's a company we use for different tests and assessments. And historically, I would reach out to an account rep there and say, I'm hiring for this type of job. Which of these work best without me hunting through your 2,000 test catalog? So I reached out to the chat, and it was a bot, and it actually honed in really good. Because of its broad base of knowledge, knew more about the position than probably any rep would have, and spit out what I was asking for. So I think we're close customer facing on a lot of stuff right now.
Yeah, I mean, the technology's there. I always get surprised when I hop on a chat with a bot and it's worthless. I'm like, with the technology that's available now, why have this deployed when it's like garbage? And but then I've seen implementations like like voice receptionists, like using AI for dental receptionists that work incredibly well. So why, this is not like rocket, this is technology that's mature. I don't know why they can't get it in the chat, some of these chat bots for these big companies. But I mean, I've seen wonderful deployments of it in the voice area. And I for one, would prefer to speak with an AI chat, an AI receptionist than I would to get outsourced, to some other countries where you have a hard time.
Well, given those options, I'm with you.
Yeah. But I mean, if you're just looking for, like local small, I'd prefer human every day of the week. But, if the option is somewhere across the country with heavy accents, it's hard to understand and doesn't understand like the emotional aspect or why things, that's a hard disconnect. And most people don't realize that AI has been able to kind of work through some of that, the human, like why is that an issue,
Well, and, as businesses continue to get squeezed for efficiency, and that might be the option. It's like, the third option that we want just doesn't fit into the business mold anymore. We may have to live with the AI and the drive-through robot telling me I can't have what I want.
It's coming.
It was upselling me, by the way, the other day.
Oh yeah,
and then again at the window. So
the technology is pretty mature. It's just how you deploy it and the quality of content behind it, or the quality of data that it's learning from. Really, is a play. Makes a difference.
Which is greater by the week, right?
Yeah.
All right, so we got ChatGPT built in via a custom feed into it. Anything else that's on your radar right now?
There's a lot in our industry. Like I said, none of the products that like the canned off the shelf stuff has really been strong that, we felt like we need to like just deploy it. We saw a company in our industry basically lead. They're like, hey, we're going to build a whole AI platform for basically doing what we do. And they got a whole bunch of money, and they bought like one business, and we'll see what happens. But, Godspeed with them, because there's just so much that goes in. And for us, I mean, like, especially in dental, it's like the human experience, like talking to people and is hyper important, because, a lot of times they're contacting us in pain, like a patient going to them is in pain. They're not, a chatbot's not going to really understand or empathize. So I think it'll be a while before we have like we wouldn't replace, I mean, probably not in my lifetime, replacing our team with bots, but I think we'll find a way to augment them, simplify their job first, and then, make it easier for the customers to get resolution. So,
yeah, I think that's an interesting distinction too, because the practices you serve, the patients and consumer of the service don't necessarily like consuming the service. Anything you can do to reduce that friction for them is great. Anything else you want to share that I haven't asked you that I should have?
Oh boy, I don't know. It's interesting in what I do, talking to a lot of business owners, and, the questions always vary, and it tends to be the stage of the business. But I was on a call with some peers, and, I kind of like look back at some of the earlier phases of the business, with nostalgia, like happy, because it was like, it was easier. It was just because, you had everybody in the same office.
That's because you forgot the pain.
Yeah.
You just forgot the pain.
Yeah. But I say, as talking to any business owner, even if you're in your early phases of growth, it's like systems save your life, processes, and then just documenting things because, you could, get your foot run over and have to be in the hospital and somebody else will need to look. If the more stuff you have prepared for somebody to back you up, the easier your life will be and the better you'll sleep. So I think if I could go back in time and tell myself these things, I'd be like, okay, systems, processes, documentation, that would have made things a lot easier as we grew. Well,
and it makes it people friendly for in the office. But along the lines of what we just said, it also makes it AI friendly then.
Very much so.
It's there.
Again, if I could go back in time.
The robots are coming.
Yeah.
All right. I will wrap it up with that. I appreciate you coming in. We will bribe you with lunch and have you back again. If anyone else wants to join us in the studio, you let us know. If anyone actually, and we do have some, by the way, some clients that are in the target you serve. So if anyone is curious about Medix Dental, how can they find out more?
medixdental.com, or you can shoot me an email at tom@medixdental.com.
Oh, you're going to flood your personal inbox now. Hopefully.
Sure, I'll take it.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, Tom, and we'll be back next podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for the Triceratops podcast. Be sure to subscribe and leave your comments. For more information on how Jurassic Marketing Direct Mail can help grow your business, visit JurassicMarketing.com.